Okay, just checking all the feeds as per our normal arrangement. Yeah, looks like we're good with everything. If you're hearing this stuff in the background, that's live feeds right now. Tel Aviv, Jerusalem, Beirut, and then missile tracker here as well. So hello everyone, welcome back to the Relief Valve podcast. I haven't been able to post for a couple of days. As I've said before in other shows, it's just, that's the issue. These other guys do professional podcasting. It's their job. They're doing multiple updates every single day throughout the entire week. I'm the other way around. I have a full-time job. Somebody's peeling out. Excuse me, sir. You can't drive that fast. Now apparently they're being chased. But we're up in the air, so we can't see that. But I do this as a hobby, as something I'm trying to build into something more. So, unfortunately, I don't end up having enough time to do the updates. So I do them when they can, and I'm trying to build a base as best I can. So if you all end up liking the show, and or your followers are already with us, thank you very much. For everybody else, it seems like there's flashes, either lightning or explosions over there in Jerusalem. Please like, share, and support the show. Subscribe as well. I appreciate all the new followers and supporters. Okay. So I'm going to mute that for right now. I'm going to take this one because it's got the missile tracker. And I'm just going to...
And I hope that it shows through every single night. And so big thanks to you.
All right. So that was Enforcer. They were talking about some stuff. We're going to get into that. So first we're going to get into the Strait of Hormuz here because... A lot is going on, and we've got. Actually, I'll start with the heading of the show. That the new Ayatollah is dead. I believe is dead at this time. Now, there's been some conflicting reports on this. The first ones where everyone appears to be on the same page with what happened to him was. This was Khamenei's son, who is allegedly gay. The intelligence came up with this. But talk about getting felted. A little shout out to Kino Casino there. He's been felted. He's gay! He's Muslim! So Trump got a chuckle out of that. We'll talk about that. But he was injured in an Israeli airstrike, but he wasn't killed. He ended up losing a leg. He was severely injured, and he was, again, allegedly comatose. Then some additional reports came out a little while later, and I haven't been able to confirm it. I'm not sure that anyone has either, that he was airlifted to Moscow and he was being treated in Russia. I haven't been able to confirm this, and that ultimately he died in Russia. Again, I haven't been able to confirm this. I mean, does it really matter one way or the other if he was treated in Iran and died there or he was treated in Russia and died there? I guess it's just interesting that they somehow got out of Iranian airspace and airlifted him to Moscow. I guess that's just kind of an interesting little thing. So here's a little bit of this story here. Look at this fucking stupid tough guy thing they're doing. Iran's former supreme leader Ayatollah Khamenei was killed in one of the strikes carried out during Operation Epic Fury. We know about that. That was the first Ayatollah. He was like 87. Here's the allegedly gay son. Mojtaba Khamenei was elected as Iran's new supreme leader. I'll turn this gay music off. However, Mojtaba's absence from public has sparked speculations. He was supposed to make a speech to everybody, and he never showed up. Reportedly, Mojtaba Khamenei was seriously injured in the strikes. I don't know if I'm saying Mojtaba right or not, but who cares? Some reports claim that the younger Khamenei is receiving medical Suspense. Attention in a private medical facility linked to Russian President Putin. So it might not even necessarily be in Moscow. Reports suggest that Khamenei was unaware of the ongoing war. So he got hit before it. Yaba was reportedly flown to Russia, in a military plane. There's reports of this. Khamenei underwent surgery after arriving in Russia's capital. So allegedly he went to Moscow. He is currently recovering in a private medical facility. This is old news now. The newest stuff. This three days ago. There should be more than that. But the reports I've been getting most recently was that he has died in that facility. But again, some of them are conflicting reports. For all I know he was. Let's say he was flown to Russia. He did lose a leg. He is comatose. He's being treated, but he's comatose, and he may never wake up, depending on what the injuries are. So for all intents and purposes, he's dead. If I was wrong about declaring him dead a little too early, I'll offer a retraction. But as far as I'm concerned, with the lack of information coming out there, he knows nothing about the war. The guy's dead. Now, allegedly, the Iranians have elected a new Ayatollah, but won't say who it is. And quite frankly, this is the smartest thing they've done since the beginning of the war. Is we have a new leader, and we're not going to tell you. You don't not your fucking business. So now here's Trump being briefed that Iran's new supreme leader was probably gay.
To learn that U.S. intelligence indicates new Iranian supreme leader Mojtaba Khamenei may be gay, and that his father, the late Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, feared his suitability to rule the Islamic Republic for that reason.
Now we know why.
The Post can reveal. Trump couldn't contain a surprise and laughed aloud when he was briefed on the intel, according to sources. Others in the room also found it, quote, hilarious, and joined the president's reaction, while one senior intelligence official has not stopped laughing about it for days, said one person familiar with the briefing. The shocking claim was described to the Post by two intelligence community officials and a third person close to the White House. All three sources say the implausible-sounding allegation is viewed as credible by U.S. spy agencies. Two of the sources said the intelligence indicates that Mojtaba has had a long-term sexual relationship with his childhood tutor. The third source said the intelligence indicated the affair was with a person who formerly worked for the Khamenei family. Mojtaba, who is believed to have been wounded in the same February 28th airstrike that killed his father and other members of his family, has made aggressive sexual overtures to men caring for him, possibly while under the influence of heavy medication, one of the Post sources said.
Go figure.
U.S. spy agencies do not have photographic evidence of the 56-year-old's alleged sexual attraction to men, but the sources insisted the tip is solid, with one saying it was derived from one of the most protected sources that the government has. The fact that this was elevated to the highest of high levels shows you there's some confidence in this, added a second source. Mojtaba's purported sexual orientation had been whispered about inside Iran since at least the May 2024 helicopter crash that killed then-President Ibrahim Raisi, Ali Khamenei's presumed favorite to be the next supreme leader, sources said. Mojtaba's father and others suspected he was gay, and that was something that people were spreading to try to stop his ascension, one of the Post sources explained.
Speaking of spreading,
the U.S. government,
you heard about
Khamenei's
son?
Piece of information, one insider said. Homosexual conduct is illegal in Iran, though the government does allow surgical sex change operations, which some gay men reportedly are pressured into undergoing to avoid criminal penalties. Sodomy is a capital offense in the nation of 93 million people, with some gay Iranians infamously hanged.
Hold on. So you're not allowed to be gay, it's illegal. But you can go through a sex change operation, put on some fake tits and get yourself a fake vagina, and then you're good to go. The government gives you a stamp of approval, and it's not homosexual sex anymore. There's some interesting things happening in Iran. It's interesting we're gay, but I need a workaround. How get me from A to C. I have to get around B. What do? Put on tits. Brilliant! Fucking idiots. One more reason to bomb Iran.
From construction cranes as a warning to others. One of the Post sources said that although it's generally frowned upon to out people against their will, there's a clear case of hypocrisy to justify doing so against Mojtaba. If there was ever a time where it was okay to out somebody, it would be when it's a leader of a repressive Islamic theocracy that hangs gay people by cranes, this person said. Moshtaba Khamenei's current whereabouts and the status of his recovery from the February 28th airstrikes.
Okay, so how convenient that he's gay, he's allowed to get away with it, but all the rest of the people have to suffer. So we've got, I'm all over the place with everything that we have to get through here. So we got new oil field attacks that ended up, are throwing the oil market into absolute chaos because the Israelis ended up not listening to the United States and hitting a major Iranian oil field, and they retaliated and ended up hitting a major oil field in Qatar, and also some locations in Israel as well. It's been a mess. But let's talk a little bit about what's going on in the Strait of Hormuz, because this is kind of turning into a big deal here. So traffic is trickling through the Strait of Hormuz. Who's moving and what's stranded? Now, I kind of heard about this the other day. I've got Ship Tracker over here. I don't pay for the service, so I can't see all of the ships, especially the ones that have their transponders turned off. Now, there's reportedly, allegedly, some that are trapped on one side of it. There are others that are trapped and waiting on the other part of it in order to get through. I was going to look at a different one. I don't think it's going to make a difference because you have to pay to become a member. And then you'll get, because they turn their transponders off so they won't be attacked. One of these boats is found its way on land. This guy's pretty smart. So my guess is he's been damaged and he's being transported. It's a tug maybe or something else, a chemical oil production tanker. So it could be a malfunction on the site unless they found a very creative way to just fly right over here and bypass the Strait of Hormuz completely. Brilliant idea, brilliant on their part. Where are they from? Panama. They're from the Panama Canal. Okay, brilliant on them for using land base there. But there are ships that are trapped here and are worried about being attacked, and potentially ships here. Obviously, you see these ships that are docked in Dubai, and some of them are risking it and trying to make it through the Strait of Hormuz. And as I've done a couple other shows, ships have been attacked. They've been severely damaged or sunk, and crews are being put at risk. They've had to be evacuated. So the point being, with these ships that are already there, they've already made the trip, and now they're waiting for some sort of solution, is they're starting to run, and the ones that are within ports, they're starting to run low on supplies and potable water. Now, the reason they're not docking and they're not resupplying is because none of the docks will allow them to come into dock and to have an attempt to resupply, because they're worried about Iranian strikes on them as soon as they dock. So they're being forced to hold in the bay or hold outside of the strait, and their crews are running low on supplies. So Iran's de facto blockade of the Strait of Hormuz has stoked fears of the gravest disruption to global oil supply in history as the Middle East conflict stretches into its third week. The blockade has squeezed shipping traffic to a trickle, with just 21 tankers transitioning the route since the war began on February 28th, according to the S&P Global Market Intelligence, compared with more than 100 ships daily before the conflict. Now, this is one of the reasons that this is important as well. Iran has gone from mining the strait with about a dozen mines to firing on ships that were passing through, then to making an amendment that Chinese ships were the only ones that could pass through, to then saying that they were making an additional change, and any ships that paid in yen, so Chinese currency, could pay essentially a bribe to the Iranian government, and they would be allowed to safely travel as well. So some of these companies are paying bribes and their tankers are allowed to go through. The other ones that are not complying with any of those are stuck where they are, and they're running out of supplies. Most vessels appear to be holding positions outside of Hormuz, with thousands of seafarers stranded aboard vessels in adjacent waters. Some have explored a pivot to disperse to alternative ports. Roughly, now, some of the companies are going to an old 19th century. I had this here somewhere. Some of the shipping companies are invoking an old 19th century rule, Shipping companies include the largest groups like MSC, Maersk, CMA, CGM, and Hapag-Lloyd have been invoking the 19th century rule to allow them to leave containers at the nearest available port at their client's expense. This practice is a response to the disruptions caused by the Iranian war, which has made some routes difficult to operate due to security risks and the need of rerouting. The 19th century maritime rule changes how risk is distributed across the supply chain, as when routes are stable, most of the risk sits with the carrier until the cargo reaches the agreed port. However, when disruption forces deviations, part of the risk shifts to cargo owners, often and suddenly without much room to renegotiate. So these companies are so concerned now, obviously, and rightly so, that their tankers can't get through, that they're saying we're going to take your oil delivery, because they all have contracts that they have to fulfill, and if they don't, they're in breach, and then they can be sued, or the client doesn't have to pay, whatever stipulations are in there. So these companies are saying, okay, because it's too dangerous to go through there, we have to stop at the nearest safe port, deliver your oil shipment there, and you have to arrange transportation from that safe port to your location. So, I mean, that's going to be a mess. Some places are just simply not going to be able to make that happen. Others, it's going to take them double or triple the time to get their oil transferred from the safe port across land to them. So the whole thing's a mess. So, with the Strait of Hormuz being effectively closed, trapping over 147 ships and halting global cargo flow, following the escalation of the conflict, Iranian forces have attacked commercial vessels, leading to a significant reduction in shipping traffic. As a result, commercial traffic has plummeted by 90% or more, with many vessels stranded and only isolated Iranian-flagged tankers transitioning. The situation remains highly volatile. Rerouting around Africa adds 10 to 14 days to shipments, significantly raising freight costs for businesses. That's another reason that you're seeing shipping costs go up. Because, 20% of major countries' oil is going through the Strait of Hormuz. So for England, for other European countries, is 20%. For the other BRICS nations, it's actually 40%. So the Strait of Hormuz is affecting the other BRICS nations more so than it's affecting us. It's not really a big hit for us, but it is a big hit for the other nations. And the reason you're seeing global prices jump is because the entire global market reacts to it, even if you're not directly affected for it. Even if you're indirectly affected by it, it is still jumping anyway. That's why you're seeing oil prices per barrel jump, and that's why you're seeing the price in the stock market jump as well, because it doesn't matter that it's in one isolated area that's not necessarily the end of the world. It ends up showing a deficit for a deficit and an interruption to the supply chain. So the market reacts to it. Everything goes crazy. Prices go up, end of the world thing until it's fixed, and then everything goes back to normal again. So roughly 400 vessels were spotted operating in the Gulf of Oman as a massive backlog of ships waited near the choke point, according to a report from the Maritime Intelligence from Windward on Sunday. While Iran has kept a tight grip on the strait, a small number of other ships have made the crossing under varying circumstances, signaling Tehran is selectively letting through some non-Iranian oil cargo in negotiated safe voyages, according to maritime analysts. That's what I mentioned earlier. Here's a look at some of the countries that have had their vessels go through the critical energy route since the war began. China, who is an ally of Iran. Tehran has largely avoided targeting ships linked to China. Dozens of vessels broadcasting AIS, automatic identification system, destinations referenced Chinese ownership or crew present while operating in the Gulf, according to Windward. This pattern suggests a possibility of an informal access filter where vessels signaling Chinese ownership or crew may be attempting to indicate neutrality or avoid targeting in the current conflict environment, Windward analysis said in a report last week. Beijing was reportedly in talks with Iran to allow crude oil and Qatari liquefied natural gas carriers to pass through the strait. Iran has continued to ship millions of barrels of crude oil to China since the war began. So, this month, COSCO Shipping suspended all new bookings for routes to and from ports in the Middle East. Just because a ship broadcasts Chinese affiliation, it doesn't always guarantee safe passage. So there's a little bit of oopsies happening there, and China's been getting on their case about it. One China-owned vessel broadcasting China owner via AIS during transit was struck by shrapnel while sailing from the Middle East Gulf towards Jebel Ali in the United Arab Emirates on March 12th, a development that has since deterred further Chinese transits, according to Lloyd's List Intelligence. Greek ship owners run by Athens-based Dynacon Tankers Management have been among the first mainstream operators to test the route. The Shenlong, a Liberia-flagged Suezmax tanker managed by Dynacon, transitioned the state around March 8th, carrying roughly 1 million barrels of Saudi crude to arrive at Mumbai, India's anchorage. Another oil tanker, the Smyrni, laden with Saudi crude oil, also sailed through the waterway last week and anchored in Mumbai. It is not yet clear whether the Smyrni was allowed safe passage due to its cargo bound for India, said Lloyd's List Intelligence, because there was another report that India has struck some sort of travel deal with Iran as well. Indian Foreign Minister Minister S. Jashkanar described the country's direct talks with Tehran as productive. I'm at the moment engaged in talking to them, and my talking has yielded some results, he told the Financial Times earlier this week. If it is yielding results for me, I would naturally continue to look at it. So India's made arrangements as well. 2 Indian vessels carrying liquefied petroleum gas, or LPG, under the Shipping Corps of India were also permitted to transit, with one arriving Sunday and a second expected Tuesday. About 22 vessels carrying crude, LPG, and liquefied natural gas remained anchored in the strait, awaiting confirmation for safe passage. Pakistan and Turkey. As recently as Monday, a Pakistan-flagged Aframax tanker laden with crude from Abu Dhabi, the United Arab Emirates, became the first confirmed non-Iranian cargo vessel to transit the choke point while broadcasting its location, according to Kepler Ship Tracking Intelligence Marine Traffic. That shows select shipments may be receiving negotiated safe passage. They might have paid the bribe. They might have made some sort of arrangement in order to get through safely. Turkish authorities also confirmed that one Turkish-owned vessel was permitted to transit after calling an Iranian port. 14 additional Turkish-owned vessels remain in the region awaiting clearance. But the Strait of Hormuz has remained effectively shut to the global energy flow as Tehran continued sporadic attacks on vessels. Attacks on ships in the Gulf appeared random and lacked a pattern aimed at sowing confusion and disruption, rather than targeting specific national profiles or vessel types, marine analysts said. At least 16 vessels have been struck in waters near the UAE's Fujairah port, Iraq's Khor al-Zubair port, and the Gulf of Oman, according to the International Maritime Organization. Several vessels that were targeted had Western or Gulf state connections, including links to the US, UAE, and UK through ownership or state registration, according to Windward. And the Iranians have claimed they will not let anyone from the evil West transit the Strait of Hormuz. So this is where Trump is running into an issue with these ships being sunk here, and why there might be the transit of a couple of marine and amphibious attack ships that are currently on their way to that location. So first you've got the amphibious assault ship, the USS Tripoli. They're kind of like mini aircraft carriers. Is reportedly on its way to the Middle East. That's been deployed from, I believe, South Korea, and it's making its way around. And also the USS Boxer has been deployed from California. They're also on their way with several thousand Marines, over 7,000. So, I mean, they're claiming here 30,000 grand total, maybe between both ships. But this is after Trump saying we're not going to put boots on the ground. So what I'm wondering here is if these ships are going to be deployed in order to put forces on the ground in order to take out these coastal missile sites and allow create a lane for ships to pass through the Strait of Hormuz safely without being attacked. Because all the Iranian defense is kind of all around here in Bandar Abbas and maybe in Shiraz as well, because you've got all of Iran right here. Here's the Strait of Hormuz. Here's some of the ships that are trapped. Other ones I can't see are in here out to sea, and and they're being fired on from this area. So, is he planning to why are you sending these 2 amphibious assault ships when they're going to sit in the Gulf and they're not going to do anything? So the first one to go, because the second one has just been deployed now. The first one to be on its way was the amphibious assault ship. Oh, I'm seeing thunder. I thought I was seeing missile strikes here. I've got the other cameras going on. It's storming in northern Israel, southern Lebanon. Okay, so the U.S. amphibious assault ship USS Tripoli are reportedly on the way to a Middle East. This is an America-class assault ship. The USS amphibious assault ship USS Tripoli was seen passing off the coast of Singapore on Monday, March 17th, reportedly en route to the Middle East as Washington boosts its military presence in the region. Several allies have rebuffed the U.S. call to send warships to escort oil tankers through the Strait of Hormuz. So the French aircraft carrier, the Charles de Gaulle, the French aircraft carrier, oui, hon, has been sent. And originally there was talk that the French aircraft carrier was going to assist in helping to clear the Strait of Hormuz. Now the word is they're not going to do that, but they're going to run defensive actions in defense of British allies and maybe us if we run into trouble and whoever in the area. But the aircraft carrier is not going to come in to clear the Strait of Hormuz. So we'll see if that changes at all. You can't rely on the French. So the U.S. amphibious military buffer call to send U.S. warships to escort oil tankers to the Strait of Hormuz. 2 U.S. officials speaking on a condition of anonymity said the Pentagon was sending additional forces to the region, including the amphibious assault ship Tripoli, along with this Marine Expeditionary Unit. There's 2,500 Marines. The Tripoli, currently in the Asia-Pacific region, is capable of carrying fighter jets as well. In total, 2,500 additional Marines will be sent to the region, along with additional sailors. The U.S.-Israel war in Iran is in its 3rd week with no end in sight. The war has killed at least 2,000 people across the Middle East since the U.S. and Israel attacked Iran on February 28th, including at least 200 children in Iran, according to the Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi. And you can't trust their numbers. This is some video of either old video of it or it on its way leaving port in like South Korea. I believe that's where it was stationed at the time. Okay. Now, the second ship that's on its way...
On March 14th,
and this is most recent.
open-source satellite trackers detected something running at high speed through the South China Sea. Not a carrier, not a destroyer. An amphibious assault ship. USS Tripoli, LHA-7. The ship most defense analysts had written off as a failed experiment. On her flight deck, up to 20 F-35B Lightning II stealth fighters. In her hull, 2,500 Marines. Destination, Hormuz. Here is why that is strange. We broke 90% of Iran's military equation. 60 warships sit on the bottom of the Gulf. The missile factories that fed Hormuz its teeth are rubble. Drone production lines, silent. 2 carrier strike groups hold the perimeter from opposite oceans. Lincoln commands the Arabian Sea, Ford locks down the Red Sea. A 3rd carrier, the Bush, is still crossing the Atlantic, days away. From the outside, the siege looks complete, but Hormuz is still closed. So look at what complete actually means when you run the numbers. More than 150 tankers sit anchored outside the strait, hemorrhaging fuel costs while they wait. Brent crude holds above $100 a barrel because the market prices certainty, and right now, certainty does not exist. The remaining 10% of Iran's capability, mines seated across the seabed, mobile launchers buried inside mountain tunnels, fast attack craft staged in coastal coves, is enough to deny a 6 nautical mile shipping corridor. And here is the brutal arithmetic that keeps every escort commander awake. You do not need to sink a convoy to close a strait. You need to sink 1 tanker. 1 burning hull in that corridor, and no insurer on Earth will write the next policy. The strait does not close by force, it closes by fear, and fear only needs 1 example. That is the paradox at the center of this war. The most powerful navy in human history solved 90% of the problem, but escort requires 100, and the distance between 90 and 100 is a supertanker on fire. Why is the Pentagon sending a ship most analysts dismissed to solve the problem 2 supercarriers could not? What can 2,500 Marines do that 50,000 sailors cannot? If you are proud of the men and women operating these machines, subscribe to Navy Decoded. We do not sell headlines.
Okay, so one of the things they mentioned there, I'm going to get to that, is the aircraft carrier, the Gerald R. Ford. Now, the Gerald R. Ford
will leave the Red Sea to undergo repairs at the U.S. Navy base on Crete.
Yeah, this comes after a fire aboard, and Derek Lytle spoke with the woman who has a loved one on board and learned more about the conditions that the sailors are enduring.
Yeah, Janet, Dana, I revisited with Brianna Cottle. You know, her sister is on the USS Gerald R. Ford, and she says anytime she wakes up and reads some of the headlines, this one being a New York Times story saying more than 600 sailors have lost their beds and have since been bunking down on floors and tabletops. She is horrified and wants her sister home immediately. United States Central Command says a fire on board the USS Gerald R. Ford started in the ship's main laundry spaces on March 12th.
To be honest with you, Derek, anytime I read an article, I hate to admit, but I've been really reading them for the past couple of days. It's just horrific.
Cottle referring to multiple reports circulating, one from the New York Times saying the fire took 30 hours to put out and 600 sailors are without beds. Another from the U.S. Naval Institute News saying more than 200 sailors were treated for smoke inhalation and one was medically evac'd from the ship. A U.S. defense official told 13 News Now they say only 100 sailors' beds were damaged and only 12 were treated for inhalation, adding sailors have cots, not tables, to sleep on. Still, for family thousands of miles away, it's a daunting read.
That our sailors would be sleeping on tables or even sleeping on floors. They didn't choose to be treated like this. It has to be better conditions. We have to do better.
Cottle says she spoke to her sister ABA and Tiffany Galarza briefly after the fire, and while they did not go into detail out of fear of her landing in trouble, she says her sister is emotionally drained.
But deep down, I know she's tired. I know she's exhausted.
A deployment now 266 days in that could quickly become one of the longest in history. Now with conditions Cottle says are not okay.
Been out almost a year under these unimaginable conditions, and I just feel like we should be ashamed of ourselves. Honestly, we got to do better.
Hopeful they will be on solid land in Norfolk soon, but left questioning when that day will come.
It's tiring and exhausting, but I don't understand why they can't.
So the USS Gerald R. Ford, CVN 78, is preparing to leave the Red Sea to undergo repairs at the U.S. Navy base on Crete after a fire last week required several hours of damage control efforts, USNI News learned. Ford will travel to Naval Support Activity Suda Bay for more than a week of pierside repairs, a senior U.S. official confirmed to USNI News on Tuesday. The official confirmed a report in a local Greek news outlet that said Ford is returning to Crete. The March 12th fire, which occurred in the aft laundry facility, so the laundry facility ended up having a malfunction. So this wasn't a successful attack by Iran. They've been putting up all the AI bullshit about how they've hit the Abraham Lincoln and also the Gerald R. Ford. This was, according to the news, not a successful missile strike. This was a malfunction that started a fire in the laundry room that damaged not only the laundry room, but spread to sleeping quarters for the crew as well, which is forcing them to sleep on tables or on the floors, and eventually they got caught. Laundry facility resulted in a major damage control response that displaced sailors across the carrier and disrupted operations throughout the ship, the source confirmed to USNI News. One sailor was medically evacuated from the carrier after being injured in the damage control effort and is in stable condition, while 2 others were treated for lacerations, another official told USNI News. More than 200 sailors were treated for smoke inhalation and returned to duty, 2 sources familiar with the fire response told USNI News. The ship's force is inspecting and overhauling affected spaces, and the cause of the fire is under investigation. A spokesperson for the U.S. Fifth Fleet told USNI News in a statement, "The ship continues to operate in the Red Sea, accomplishing U.S. Central Command tasking in support of Operation Epic Fury. The smoke damage extended to the berthing, requiring the Navy to take 1,000 mattresses off the future USS John F. Kennedy, CVN 79, in Newport News, Virginia, over the weekend to send to the Ford," News understands. The Navy has also collected almost 2,000 sweatsuits and other clothing items to distribute to the crew because many sailors are unable to clean their clothes, with most of the laundry services out of commission, a source confirmed to the News. Due to the fire, several berthing spaces and subsequently more than 100 racks of beds were lost. A Pentagon spokesperson told USNI News in a statement, an immediate plan to acquire replacement cots has already been established. The resiliency and mental grit of our sailors has enabled the USS Gerald R. Ford to support ongoing operations. So, there's a lot of fake news coming out of Iran that they've had these successful strikes against, U.S. ships, and that's not the case. Now, let's look at the USS Boxer. That's the other amphibious assault ship that just left California and is also on its way to rendezvous with the Tripoli near the Strait of Hormuz, is going to be my guess. Informative video or a freaking recruitment video. I'm going to look up information about the Boxer. So here's one of the interesting things about the USS Boxer that the Tripoli doesn't have. The Tripoli is an America class. This one is, I can't remember the name now. It's a different class, but it's got a well deck. It can launch vessels from down here right at the waterline. This includes large hovercraft that are capable of carrying not only a small force on board, but also Abrams tanks and other equipment to make a land-based, a shore landing and get equipment there. This is another indication that there might be, something else going on here as far as land-based stuff. Let's take a look at this here.
One of San Diego's amphibious assault ships was deployed to the Middle East yesterday. Video from San Diego webcam shows the USS Boxer leaving port on Wednesday ahead of schedule. The USS Boxer serves as the flagship of the Boxer Amphibious Ready Group. The U.S. Navy 3rd Fleet said in a statement that the vessel left San Diego as part of, quote, routine operations.
Now, the word is it is, in fact, on its way to... I wanted to find a better video of the Boxer. Let's let this keep playing here. So you can see they're like mini aircraft carriers. They're just enough to launch about a half dozen different types of planes. The Boxer is supposed to have F-35s on it, in addition to Ospreys and I think a helicopter coverage as well. Now, what somebody else was noting was the Tripoli and the Boxer kind of complement each other. So the Tripoli is more, yes, it's capable of doing similar things, getting troops to a shore landing, but it's much better in aerial coverage over water-based operations. Whereas the Boxers is, again, a mix of that as well, because it's got air coverage, but it's much better focused on water to land-based operations. So it's like each ship kind of has its own crossover and can defend each other, and the Boxer can land troops even more efficiently than the Tripoli can. So the thought process here and what some people are wondering overhead view of the Persian Gulf here. Is this? I believe this is inside the Strait of Hormuz. So the question is going to be, you know, what are we trying to pull here? Okay, so there's that. Now I'm going to bring up something here. We've got Karg Island, which is in the Strait of Hormuz. It's up here. It's north. Okay, here's Karg. This is 90%. Karg Island is 90% of Iran's oil production. It's already been hit once as a warning, but we've primarily left this alone. We've taken out all of their shore defenses. and a fair amount of the island's defenses, and you see how far it is up here through the Strait of Hormuz. So some of the theory about why we're sending these amphibious units is kind of one of two things. One, and this is going to be kind of a battle of attrition here, right? Because if you send the Tripoli and the Boxer through here, they've got to navigate and avoid being attacked from Bandar Abbas, from Iranian forces, make their way north to Karg in order to take Karg, and then potentially use it as a bargaining chip against Iran in order for them to reopen the Strait of Hormuz and stop attacking vessels that are coming through. But that means navigating all of this and being in danger while you're doing it. Or it's going to be a battle of attrition where they're going to start to clear this area and make the Strait of Hormuz safe again, and then fight their way north to eventually Karg Island, should that be a next target of opportunity. Either way, this is so they're going to be fighting on well-known enemy enemy territory. This is going to benefit Iran right here for ground fighting, and fighting their way through this area, running operations and trying to clear this. Now, it's taking them a couple of weeks to get there, or their plan is to stay for almost 2 months. So a lot of this is the War Act that the president is using currently, I think only covers him for like 60 to 90 days. So if this operation is going over that, the Democrats in Congress and even some Republicans are going to shut this down and say, we're not funding it anymore. You're not going to get any more war funding to continue this operation. So for the amount of time that it's going to take these two ships to come here to the Strait of Hormuz, I think the Tripoli is nearly there. It's a couple more days to maybe a week, and then the because they came from. Where were they? They were over, I believe they were here. If I'm not mistaken, the Tripoli was in South Korea. So it has traveled the Philippine Sea, it is passing India, and is coming to the Arabian Sea. Whereas the Boxer is leaving California, and it is traveling, and it is making its way all the way around, or is the quicker one coming all the way around the South Horn of Africa in order to make your way to the Strait of Hormuz. So this is like a week's worth of travel, never mind operations when you get there. So you're looking at another month to a couple of months of operations. So either you're bringing these ships as a bluff to say, if you don't do something, I'm going to send forces. They're there, they're ready for operations, I'm going to send them. Or because shipping in the Strait of Hormuz is turning into a disaster, multiple countries and Middle Eastern countries are all complaining about what's going on. They issued a strongly worded letter to Iran. It was stupid, but it was basically like, stop doing this, stop sending missiles at us, reopen the Strait of Hormuz, and allow regular discourse to continue. But one, saying no boots on the ground, now you're sending like however many thousand of Marines. And two, what's your plan when they get there? It's odd. Are you going to attempt to to secure the Strait of Hormuz? Are you going to attempt to simply battle your way through here, get to Karg Island, take it, and then force the Iranians to negotiate when you're in control of Karg Island? But by the way, Iran right here is just going to be able to fire directly on our troops that are holding Karg Island. They'll be fish in a barrel here, taking ballistic missile attacks, unless you've got ships that are around the island that are firing interceptors and intercepting everything that is being sent to Karg Island, so you are able to hold it indefinitely with the Iranians not having any other options. I'm concerned about seeing this. I obviously, like any other American, I don't want boots on the ground. I think grand total in this conflict, 14 Americans are dead. My thoughts are with them and their family. I'm thankful for their service. Obviously, I did not want that to happen to them. And that's just running primarily air operations. Never mind if we're going to take all these Marines and we're going to put them on the ground now, which is going to put them directly in harm's way from fighting Iranian forces on the ground. Even if they get with the Kurds, who we've been negotiating with, there's several thousand Kurdish fighters that are on the Iraqi border here. There are some that are in the mountains up here near Turkmenistan, and then there are also Iraqi Kurds that are here on the border. We've been negotiating with them, and they've all pledged to assist with ground forces into Iran. So even if we link up with the Kurds, you're still looking at American loss of the potential of American loss of life as well. It goes up significantly when that happens. So I don't know about this. We're going to have to wait to see more information. I don't know if this is a bluff in order to get Iran to open up the strait, or whether Trump is planning to put boots on the ground despite saying there's not going to be boots on the ground. Like I said, it's a concern. So this was tensions exploding as Iranian ballistic missile hits the Haifa oil refinery. But I think that was in response to the Israelis hitting a location in... and I'm trying to find where I have that.
Just ordered one of the most powerful bombing raids ever on Iran's...
This is Matt Morse talking about Karg Island.
We've been talking a lot about Karg Island here on this broadcast. Well, what do we have here? This is Iran. There's Israel. There's Saudi Arabia. You know where it is. Persian Gulf. Here's the Strait of Hormuz.
I'm going to get another cup of coffee. I'll be right back.
Of all of the world's oil supply comes out of the Persian Gulf through the Hormuz, which is temporarily, slightly shut down. Still, there's some traffic going through. Some boats are going in and out. Some vessels. Let's talk about the Iranian regime's island. It's called Karg Island. Some people call it Oil Island. Well, 90% of the Iranian regime's oil export, annual oil export, is pumped out of this island. There's a series of pipes. You can see them in the sand. You can actually literally see them. There's a series of pipes that go under the water. You can see it popping out over here. Fun. You can literally see them. Anyway, series of pipes connect this island to the mainland. Iran pumps their oil to this island, at which point it is stored, processed, pumped through another series of pipes into their export oil tanker vessels. Here they are. You can actually see some of them on Google Maps. 90% of the Iranian regime's annual oil export goes through this one terminal. You say, man, that seems kind of like a weak spot. 90%, and their entire economy is propped up by oil export. You know that? All the money they make is from oil. And you say, wait a minute, 90% of the Iranian regime's oil export is through one terminal? That seems like kind of a soft underbelly, like a weak spot. Well, it is. And President Trump has just taken advantage of it. Let's take a look at what he said shortly after bombing this island. And by the way, we've got videos and footage of what this operation looked like. I'm going to show you here in a minute. This is what President Trump had to say about it. Moments ago, at my direction, the United States Central Command executed one of the most powerful bombing raids in the history of the Middle East and totally obliterated every single military target on Iran's crown jewel, Karg Island. Pause. He says military target. Was President Trump blowing up the oil infrastructure? Was he blowing up the pipelines? Was he blowing up the storage facilities? No. President, and there's a lot of oil infrastructure. President Trump, he said, we blew up all of the military targets. Military targets on Iran's crown jewel, Karg Island. He says, our weapons are the most powerful and sophisticated that the world have ever known. But for reasons of decency, I have chosen not to wipe out the oil infrastructure on the island. However, should Iran or anyone else do anything to interfere with the free and safe passage of ships through the Strait of Hormuz, I will immediately reconsider.
Bear with me a second.
Consider this decision.
What happened when I opened too many tabs?
What is President Trump saying right now?
Backlogged with
Why don't
news.
we take a look at one of my favorite websites? It's called Marine Tracker. Ladies and gentlemen, we can see live vessels in the Persian Gulf every day.
See, this is what you couldn't see on my Marine Tracker. Look at all of these ships that are backed up. Look at all the ships that are trapped here in the Strait of Hormuz. And then down south, the other ones that are trapped waiting to try to attempt to get in the Strait of Hormuz.
Not every arrow is a vessel, a maritime vessel, a ship. You can see them. You see a lot of ships.
Look at the conga line of ships that are waiting to get into the Strait of Hormuz. All of these ships are running low on supplies and water right now. They cannot go to a port and get resupplied because the ports are concerned that Iran will launch attacks on the ports the minute they give safe haven to the tankers. Now, when you're paying for the app, you can see some of the ships even if the transponder is off. But Iran has to use other means in order to find the ships. They use like water scanning based technology in order to find something that's on the surface of the water because they either don't have access to Marine Tracker or it doesn't work for them, something along those lines, but they can't directly see them. So the ports won't take the tankers. The tankers are trapped both inside the Strait of Hormuz and also trying to enter. They're running out of food and they're running out of supplies. And another enforcer, another show was talking about how in back in the old days type of thing, there used to be kind of these, like, not tugs, but there used to be these little boats, and they could leave the port, and if the tanker was in proximity to the port, kind of out in the bay type of thing, that little ship would come and bring food supplies to the vessels that were sitting out there, so they didn't have to dock if they didn't have to, or the dock was full and it just wasn't possible. That practice isn't really used anymore. So now there are no smaller ships to go out there and resupply these tankers. Now, unless our own Navy vessels, because our Navy vessels also have a resupply fleet that travels with them to resupply our own ships with food, water, medical supplies, anything they're and extras of anything they're running low on. Maybe we can help out with resupplying some of those tankers that way, but there's not enough to go around to maintain our fleet while at the same time helping every tanker that's here. Look at them. They were already en route when this started, because this has been going on for a couple of weeks now. So depending on what country or continent you're coming from, your travel took a week. So you got word in the middle of your travel that there's a war with Iran. So either, now you're like, okay, so your company is ordering you to hold at the Strait of Hormuz and wait for updates on whether you can travel or not. Or it's not efficient to turn around and go back to the port where you came from when you're fully stocked. So everyone kept going. Now you've got a conga line and everyone's trapped.
Ships on standby. They're twirling their thumbs. They want to go through. President Trump has now issued a direct threat to the Iranian regime.
So, as he said, not all of these are tankers, but there are many of them, tankers, supply vessels, etc. They're all trapped here. They're all trapped here.
You are going to open this Strait of Hormuz.
And there's Karg Island up there that I was talking about earlier.
Our bombs are going to start targeting not just the military infrastructure on this island, but also the oil and energy infrastructure on the island as well. Ball's in your court. Make your move. Open up. Knock, knock. So this is from President Trump last night. He says, during my first term, and currently, I rebuilt our military into the most lethal, powerful, and effective force by far anywhere in the world. Is that true? Yes. Iran has no ability to defend anything that we want to attack. There is nothing they can do about it. We can attack whatever we want with complete and total impunity. Iran will never have a nuclear weapon, nor will it have the ability to threaten the United States of America, the Middle East, or for that matter, anywhere in the world. Iran's military and all others involved with this terrorist regime would be wise to lay down their arms and save what is left of their country, which isn't much. Thank you for your attention to this matter. President Donald J. Trump. So Trump is done playing softball. Okay, we're playing hardball now. He says, open the Hormuz, or otherwise we are going to blow up all of your energy and oil infrastructure. Consider this a warning. Yesterday, and we've got footage of this, by the way, CENTCOM has released footage of what these strikes on Karg Island look like.
This was 6 days ago, so this is a little old. Bear that in mind.
Open up.
So now I'm going to bring up what I was referencing before. This was the attack where Israel kind of jumped the gun here, and they hit, aside from Karg Island, they hit another massive
every passing day.
Israeli
the latest
oil field.
Energy facilities across Gulf's Arab monarchies are evacuating personnel. This as Iran's military warns it will target energy infrastructure across the region, following a US-Israeli attack on its facilities at a major gas field. Some of the infrastructure at Iran's largest gas field, the South Pars field, has reportedly been damaged following the US-Israeli strikes. According to Iranian media, US and Israeli airstrikes hit the country's South Pars gas field and nearby.
Now, I believe it was only Israel.
Iranian
it wasn't
media
us.
added that oil and petrochemical facilities nearby Asaluye were also attacked. The South Pars gas field is the world's largest natural gas reservoir. It is shared between Iran and Qatar. Iran uses it.
So there you go. So they share it with Qatar. So I don't know if the Qatari side was damaged at all, but the Israelis hit the Iranian portion of what's owned. And then, of course, you've got Karg Island, which is solely in control of Iran, up here, roughly in this area. So 90% comes here, and another fair amount comes here, shared with Qatar. Israel kind of jumped the gun. The attack happened, and America said, Trump said, yeah, we told them they could hit it once as a warning, and then we said after that, you don't do it again. But after hitting that triggered a response from Iran, which ended up having them hit major oil fields in Qatar as well. I'm going to get to that.
Uses it for domestic energy needs, while Qatar,
Thank you. Come again.
As the North Field, uses it to be a top global exporter of liquefied natural gas. Iranian media reports say that staff from their facilities have evacuated to safe areas and firefighting efforts remain underway at the gas field. No casualties have been reported. Qatar has strongly condemned Israel's strike on Iran's South Pars gas field, calling it dangerous and irresponsible. While the US and Israel had previously focused on targeting Iran's nuclear and missile facilities, they now appear to be expanding attacks to Iran's industrial infrastructure. In response, Iran's Revolutionary Guards have issued evacuation warnings for several energy facilities across the Gulf. The IRGC has named sites in Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and Qatar, warning of possible attacks. The Saudi Defense Ministry says its air defenses are already dealing with ballistic threats in Riyadh after 2 loud explosions were heard above the Saudi capital. Earlier, the Iranian military's operational command, Khatam al-Anbiya.
Yeah, that was one of the tankers hitting the Strait of Hormuz, and the fire just billowing up for that when it got hit. I believe the crew was rescued.
Issued a statement saying that it will severely strike the source of the aggression. According to reports, it is aiming to target the fuel, energy, and gas infrastructure of countries from which attacks on Iran have been launched.
So, now it's tit for tat. It's you hit our major oil stuff, we're going to do the same to you. Iranian ballistic missile hits Haifa in Israel, and then also Iran retaliated, as he was saying, in Qatar and in Saudi Arabia as well. Here's a little bit of that.
We intend to potentially put U.S. troops or more troops in the region.
No, I'm not putting troops anywhere. If I were, I certainly wouldn't tell you.
Yeah, there's one more thing.
President Trump questioned on whether American troops would be deployed into Iran while speaking next to Japan's prime minister moments ago. And just breaking in the Middle East, CENTCOM says an American F-35 jet made an emergency landing at a regional airbase after flying a combat mission in Iran. The aircraft landed safely. The pilot said to be in stable condition.
Yeah, this was this other report where an Iranian surface-to-air missile launcher ended up hitting an F-35. Now, so one of the stealth fighters that are supposed to be like, unstoppable, right? Now, Iran claimed they took it out completely. But the information that's coming out about it is the plane was damaged and it made an emergency landing, and they're likely able to salvage the plane. It's possible that the pilot was wounded, but he's being treated and he's going to survive. He doesn't have life-threatening injuries. So something I was learning about the F-35 was it apparently has. So one of two things happened for this situation. So it's a stealth fighter, but when it opens up its bomb bay doors, it doesn't have the stealth material in the bomb bay lining. So when radar is trying to find the plane, it's not finding it because of the stealth material. When you open up the bomber bay doors, it is able to get a hit and recognize that there's something there. They believe this is how the launcher locked onto the F-35. Now, the F-35 has a detachable kind of defense mechanism. It flies, so it's attached by some sort of tether or something, flies behind it at a short distance, and then acts as a now I'm having a brain fart and why can't I say the fucking word that I want to say? But it acts as, it'll catch incoming fire. So instead of hitting the plane, it will hit this tethered detractor there instead, which will minimize damage to the plane rather than having it take a direct hit. I mean, I'm assuming they've got chaff and they've got other stuff too, but maybe if you're not able to deploy it quick enough, or a missile that's coming in that won't be dissuaded by chaff, this will actually take the hit instead for the F-35 and will minimize the damage to it rather than having a direct hit. So the belief at this time is that's what happened. It ended up hitting that detachable that ride-along device and made it so the F-35 wasn't completely destroyed. So yes, it appears like Iran did hit an F-35 for real this time, not AI bullshit, but the F-35 was able to land, it was damaged, the pilot was treated, and everything's okay. So only about half of that story is true, because Iran it showed thermal of them hitting the plane, and then they cut it off real quick. Luna, leave the birds alone. We got baby chicks in here growing up. And then they tried to make it look like the F-35 exploded in a huge ball, but they cut it off very short and then kind of added in their own little edit after the fact. When in reality, the plane was able to continue on and make an emergency landing. I forget where it was. That's what they're referencing with the F-35 being
Thursday afternoon already, Sandra. It's only an hour old.
All right, let's kick things off. I'm Sandra Smith in New York. Good to be with you, John. This is America Report. So CENTCOM releasing this new video today showing U.S. forces taking out Iranian naval assets. It says threatened shipping near the Strait of Hormuz.
So these are the mine layers and other shit that they're using. They're also using, that's like a mine layer, a torpedo ship. They're also using kind of automated ships.
In the case of NATO, they don't want to help us defend the Strait, and they're the ones that need it. But now they're getting much nicer because they're seeing my attitude. They're getting much nicer.
All right, let's get straight to our chief foreign correspondent, Trey Yingst. He's reporting live from Tel Aviv at this hour. Hello, Trey.
There's one more thing I wanted to
Sandra,
bring
good
up.
afternoon.
And I want
we
to
start with some breaking news. This evening in Israel, an Iranian ballistic missile targeted the northern city of Haifa, and shrapnel from that missile hit the Bazan oil refinery. This is Israel's largest refinery, and it accounts for more than 50% of the country's gasoline and diesel supplies. You can see some black smoke here in the aftermath of that shrapnel impact, and it comes amid a renewed focus on energy infrastructure across the Middle East after Israeli airstrikes targeted Iran's South Pars gas field yesterday. This immediately drew a response from the Iranian regime, who went after more Gulf oil facilities and gas fields, targeting Qatar's Ras Laffan facility. And the Qataris say that 17% of their liquefied natural gas output has been reduced as a result of this attack. It could take up to 5 years, according to
So that was the retaliatory strike by Iran against Qatar, and then also Haifa and Israel.
To Truth Social about the initial Israeli strikes, saying in part, quote, Israel, out of anger for what has taken place in the Middle East, has violently lashed out at a major facility known as South Pars gas field in Iran. The Israelis rejected that characterization, but the president today was asked about it in the Oval Office, saying this.
We talked to Prime Minister Netanyahu about attacking the oil and gas fields.
Yeah, I did. I told him don't do that, and he won't do that. We didn't discuss. You know, we do. We're independent, but get along great. It's coordinated, but on occasion he'll do something, and if I don't like it, and so we're not doing that anymore.
The Israelis and their U.S. counterparts are continuing to strike Iranian naval assets. This is the Caspian Sea, just north of Iran, where overnight Israeli fighter jets targeted a variety of Navy vessels belonging to the Iranian regime. This is a concerted effort by the Americans and the Israelis to go after what is left of the Iranian Navy and other IRGC targets. Here in Israel, Sandra, there is an understanding.
Yeah, because the word was that they had
fire tonight.
They had sent a couple of their vessels away, like, you know, the one that was sunk near India, like near Sri Lanka, and another one, and because of the attacks, they moved them to a safer location. That's why there's still, I guess, a couple of Iranian vessels. They're just not in the area. They're nowhere near Iran. They're further out, and they're trying to hit them.
Because that really is an area of concern for literally everybody who puts gas in their tank or heats their home. And there appears to be a big change of heart from Britain, France, Germany, Holland, Italy, and Japan, who put out this statement a short time ago. We express our readiness to contribute to appropriate efforts to ensure safe passage through the Strait. We welcome the commitment of nations who are engaging in preparatory planning. President Trump would seem twisted some arms and twisted them successfully.
Well, John, thanks for having me. And I think, you know, we all...
Okay, so that was the retaliatory strikes by Iran. This is a little bit more, with strikes on the UAE after the Karg Island bombing. That's when we hit Karg Island as our particular warning. Israel hit the other location.
6 drones from Iran. This comes the day after Tehran urged 3 major ports in the UAE to evacuate in what is considered the regime's first threat to attack infrastructure of a neighboring country. Meanwhile, Saudi Arabia also announced it intercepted multiple Iranian drones, warning residents today of more potential incoming projectiles. Fox News.
Sorry if you hear the baby chicks in the background. It's we're raising them in the house in a habitat in here, and they're chirping their heads off. I don't know if that's coming through on the mic
Joey,
or not.
That was a pretty quiet day here in the UAE. Just 4 ballistic missiles and 6 drones launched from Iran. For the past 2 weeks, Iran has launched over 1,600 drones here and nearly 300 ballistic missiles. That's 3 times the number launched at Israel. And Iran's foreign minister claims he's only targeting American bases here in the region.
They are only targeting American assets, American installations, American military bases. Everything belongs to Americans. They, attacked our islands using HIMARS artillery rockets, which are low-range, rockets, and they used the territory of UAE to attack us.
Now, some residents here would like a word with Mr. Arachi. Joey, just some of the other day, a drone hit a building just 2 miles from where I'm standing. Many swank hotels that Tommy prefers and skyscrapers have also been hit. Now to Arachi's other point, there are satellite-guided rockets that could reach Iran's Karg Island using HIMARS launchers. That island in the northern Persian Gulf is a choke point for Iran, responsible for 96% of its oil exports. Trump ordered the oil untouched, only military targets for now. Now, after that American attack on the island, Iran retaliated by launching a drone strike here in the UAE at the Fujairah oil terminal, which is used to ship oil over land via pipeline to Oman and avoid the Strait of Hormuz. Now, Iran's foreign minister also claiming Iran has only closed the strait to American and Israeli interests. Keep in mind, only 2% of tankers transiting the strait ever reach American shores. China gets 40% of its oil from this critical waterway. Iran ships 90% through there. Now, earlier, President Trump's energy secretary thinks this war will be wrapping up soon.
I think that this conflict will certainly come to the end in the next few weeks. Could be sooner than that, but the conflict will come to the end in the next few weeks, and we'll see a rebound in supplies and a pushing down of prices after that.
So is that true? I don't know. I kind of find it hard to believe that it's going to be
launched multiple strikes across Iran today. U.S. Central Command releasing footage showing strikes on a range of Iranian military targets. Iran's foreign minister says the country has never asked for a ceasefire and it's planning on continuing the war. This footage released by an Iranian-backed group in Iraq showed...
This was a drone that hit a base that's no longer under U.S. control. It's under Iraqi control. But they tried to claim it as a win. We hit America. This was their drone hitting, a barracks or something in the base. It hasn't been under American control for years.
A drone attack on a U.S. base near Baghdad International Airport.
It wasn't a U.S. base, so they got that wrong. I don't even know why they're saying that. So that's, there's more crazy stuff. By the way, I didn't get to do this. I rest in peace to Chuck Norris. Chuck Norris passed away today. Passed away at the age of 86 following his hospitalization yesterday in Hawaii. I know we're getting a little off topic here. So rest easy, Chuck. This is Nick Sorta posting this week. We lost an American legend today. So rest in peace to Chuck Norris. One of my, I don't know what you guys feel about some of his movies and shows. I know a lot of people like Walker, Texas Ranger. Earlier on in his career, Delta Force is still one of my all-time favorite movies that he's in. I ended up buying that. I have it on either Vudu or Amazon Prime or something, and then occasionally I will watch it. I think I might even watch it again, maybe today or this weekend, just in memory of him. They did Delta Force 1 and 2, I think, before they kind of wrapped up the series or it changed, but awesome actor and martial artist, and rest in peace to Chuck Norris. I forgot to mention that in today's show as well. So this was some dramatic video from drones being sent by Iran to the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad, which had been evacuated at this time. It just had some defensive forces, but this was some crazy video. This is an automatic, machine gun like what they have on the ships, firing to try and take this drone out. There's one hit right there. There was another one. I have to go to my ex because these guys are just sitting in like a rooftop restaurant or something, having some drinks, and they're fucking recording the drone flying right overhead of them, and this ARAM gun or whatever just firing off rounds at it, and they're laughing about it like shit happens all the time here. This war's crazy, ain't it? Bring me another whiskey. This is some other shots of that. I want to see if I can find it on my... I post a lot. I post stuff for the show. I post funny for Marco Rubio taking over for replacing the entire world. I'll post stuff here as reminders for myself of things to talk about and also things that are going on. Oh yeah, Iran executed a 19-year-old champion wrestler, Salim Mohammadi, and two others in a horrific public hanging because they were supporting us attacking the Iranian regime. So this guy was, I think, maybe an Olympic wrestler. I'm not entirely sure. They ended up hanging him and a couple other as dissidents. see how far I... This is it. This is it. Hold on. Here we go. So there's the Iranian drone flying over them while they're having dinner. Here comes the gun, trying to take him out. And they're just fucking recording and yucking it up. Okay. I want to do one final thing here because there's another thought that's happening. I've got... What is that other sound? Oh, that's... I've got the Tel Aviv cameras going. They just got storms going on right now. There haven't been any missile launches at all. He's got the missile launcher tracker here as well. So, here's the other thought for why the Marines are coming in. Now, the Trump administration is claiming... So, Fordo was one of the the nuclear site locations that were hit in Operation Midnight Hammer. The first time we flew in with the B-2 bombers from the United States, and then they flew, refueled in the air, made it all the way over to the Middle East, and then hit those locations. Fordo is the one where we hit the upper level stuff, because all of these facilities are built underground, and they're built with bunker buster cement and foundation. That's why using the mother of all bombs, those bunker busters, are not as effective on these facilities. They've been built to actually withstand those attacks. The Iranians did it on purpose. So, there was like Fordo, Isfahan, and there was another one. We crippled those, if not 100%, then pretty decently. But Fordo wasn't completely taken out. Now, the word is, because there's talks about where they have this enriched uranium, that is the reason that the Trump administration has said that they've gone in and made this attack, is because the usable uranium to make nuclear components or small explosives or whatever are in the Fordo facility. So we didn't completely destroy the Fordo facility. And the word on the street is that the concern was that if we buried the materials, that later on down the road, Iran would be able to dig their way back into it again and then retrieve those materials. So one of the things that's being discussed right now is ground forces getting into the Fordo location with scientists and neutralizing all of the usable nuclear material that's in there right now. Because apparently this is the stuff that was almost ready to go. It was ready to go within a week, or some of it is already viable. It can already be put in. So the Fordo uranium enrichment plant, officially the Shahid al-Mohammadi nuclear facility, is located about 30 kilometers northeast of Qom, Iran, on a former Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps base. The facility is buried 80 to 90 meters underground within a mountain, making it highly resistant to airstrikes and conventional attacks, and is protected by Iranian and Russian surface-to-air missile systems, because they buy stuff off the Russians. Construction began in the mid-2000s, and Iran publicly disclosed the site to the International Atomic Energy Commission in September of 2009 after Western intelligence revealed its existence. Fordo was originally designed for uranium enrichment with a declared capacity of 3,000 centrifuges and 16 cascades. It has been used to enrich uranium to 20% for Iran's Tehran research reactor and more recently to 60% purity, and for now, almost completely to where it is usable, with traces detected at 83.7, close to weapons-grade levels. This is why we're at right now, because they're claiming they did, in fact, make it to weapons-grade level. This is the intelligence that Trump and his administration is referencing when they're talking to people about this. They are claiming, alleging, that they have made it to weapons-grade level. The facility's underground design allows it to continue operations even under military threat, and it is considered more militarily significant than Natanz, so there's Natanz and Isfahan, due to its ability to produce higher purity uranium. So the other thought, aside from clearing the Strait of Hormuz and clearing Karg Island, is, are the Marines, are these two ships going to be deploying forces inland in order to make their way to Fordo? to the facility at Fordo. And I'm wondering, here's an aerial view, satellite view of the Fordo facility, and obviously everything else is underground. I don't know if it has another picture showing like maybe the more of the underground portion of the facility. These are the upper levels. We hit it with a couple of bunker busters, and we also destroyed all of the above ground base and facilities. But we didn't. I don't believe we went as hardcore on Fordo as people might believe, and I think it could be for this reason. That this is where the weapons grade plutonium is, and this is the concern, and this is where this action is coming from by us and Israel. That the primary thing is for them to either, one, they need to surrender all of it to us, which they're not going to do, or two, we need to seize it and disable it so it is rendered mute. It is no longer a danger to anyone, and bringing nuclear scientists with them with the ground forces when it's safe will be able to start going through the process of neutralizing everything that's there. So it's a complete wash. It's not a danger to anyone ever again. So, could it be that the Marines are coming for this particular objective, the Strait of Hormuz, Karg Island, or attempting to get to the Fordo uranium enrichment plant? So I don't know. I'm as concerned with everybody else as putting boots on the ground and putting American soldiers and men and women at risk. That is not something I want. It's not something that I want to push for unless the United States was in absolutely imminent danger and we had no choice but to put Americans in harm's way. And until we can really get more information about exactly what's in Fordo, and the Trump administration shares more of that intelligence with all of us, we don't know precisely how close Fordo was and how much of a danger if it was, because they don't have the range to launch a nuclear weapon at any of Eastern Europe or the United States. They could hit Israel with one. They could hit any of the other Muslim countries, Qatar, the UAE, etc., Kuwait, with improvised nuclear weapons. And they could also, you could get across the Mexican border into the United States with an improvised tactical nuke or something. And if they were getting close to doing that, yes, that is a serious concern for everybody, because they might not be able to launch one the way we would, or Russia or England would, with nuclear missile silos, but you can make a dirty bomb type of situation where you put something together, you make it transportable, and then you can take it to wherever you need to go, and then you can set it off in a major city. If that's the case, yeah, it's a serious problem, and this is worth the effort and the blood and treasure that we're shedding in order to do this. But if that wasn't the case, a lot more comes into question. I think my understanding is 14 American servicemen and women are dead, with more injured, and obviously that's awful. And then the political ramifications of it are going to be huger back here at home as more Americans become upset about what the war is turning into, and then they're going to push for the troops to come home. Just bring, this is enough. We've done enough damage. Bring everybody home, and all of this will be for naught. And as soon as Iran can rebuild all of its shit, it is going to go on a retribution tour. It's going to hit and punish everybody that had anything to do with this. So really, we're kind of in for a penny and in for a pound with this right now. We either need to finish it, and Congress is going to get in Trump's way after the time frame for. And I want to find the war's power. Will allow him. It's a 60-day limit, and we're a couple of weeks into this already. The two amphibious ships are taking about a week to get there, and then they have to launch whatever operations they're going to do. After the 60-day limit goes, if he doesn't find a way, followed by a 30-day withdrawal period, the War Powers Act sets a 60-day limit for U.S. armed forces to engage in hostilities without congressional authorization, followed by a 30-day withdrawal period. It's the War Powers Act of 1973. And the president had 48 hours to notify Congress of this. Now, with the Democrats in Congress, as soon as this is over, they're automatically going to start pushing for no more funding for this. It's going to turn into a huge battle on Capitol Hill in order to take away the funding and return all the troops and resources home. And then this whole thing will be a total loss, including the loss of life. This is what happened with the withdrawal in it was Afghanistan, when we lost with Biden's botched withdrawal, where we lost 13 servicemen because he fucked up the way that we pulled out of there. And, it caused, I had a couple of buddies that were in the military, and it kind of totally caused them PTSD because they remember serving there. They were and then pulling out in that way and losing more people. It was like a kick in the ass on the way out the door to do it that way. It really bugged them. And now this is what's going to turn into. You're going to take the loss of life that we had, and then it's going to be a boot in the ass that Iran can brag about. They're going to go back to subjugating their people, and coming back to America, this is going to be like another epic fail. So it needs to continue, and it needs to come to a conclusion. And they need to pull it off within the next couple of weeks. And right now, it's a mess, especially with Iran launching on everybody, and we're still hitting targets. But like they're saying, we're using like $1 million bombs to take out $30,000 drones and shit missiles that Iran's firing. So cost-wise, we're spending way more money with sophisticated stuff to take out the more primitive of their shit. So I know there were some talks, I'm going to kind of wrap up here, but there were some talks with Ukraine in order to start purchasing the drones that they're making, because the Ukrainians are having big success with using these drones against Russia. And drone warfare in general. It seems like Ukraine is kind of leading the way with that. Iran is using a lot of drones, and they're having some success with it too, whereas we appear to be behind the eight ball on this one. So there are talks right now to start purchasing drones from Ukraine, and then maybe training and tactics about the best way to use this as they're using it against Russia. But I don't know that that's going to be quick enough to bring into the campaign against Iran right now. So it'll be for future things with America getting better with drone warfare. But we'll see what it turns into. All right. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for all the new viewers that we have coming in. Everybody that's viewed today's show, I really appreciate it. If you like the show, please like and subscribe. Share it with others and help me grow the show. I put my own time and money into it. I don't get anything in return. There are no sponsors. I'm just trying to grow something myself here on the side and share information with people as well about what's going on. All right. Thank you, everyone. And I will talk to you again this weekend. If I can't get on Saturday, I will be on for the Shitbag Roundup, War Edition of the Shitbag Roundup on Sunday, where I'll bring you more information about what's going on in Iran and some of our local crazy stuff going on here too. All right, thank you, everyone.